Well, now we're up to the latest hit for Hootie and the Blowfish, a group that says they developed their distinctive sound singing together in the shower. It all came out when the band recently appeared on an MTV show called Naked Cafe. In their segment of the show, Darius Rucker, Dean Felber, Sonny Sonfeld, and Mark Bryan took viewers back to their roots in Columbia, South Carolina. The band members went past the funky old house they used to share. They stopped by some of the clubs where they used to play. They pointed out the shop where they bought their records. They showed their audience the fast food joints where they'd eat late at night. And then they headed for the college dormitory where they first met when they were in their freshman year at the University of South Carolina. They took viewers to old rooms and then into the shower room, not because they wanted to brag about the water pressure, but because it was in the dorm shower room that they developed their vocal sound. You see, back when they were in college, they'd go to that shower room fully dressed late at night to sing their hearts out. They didn't go there to entertain the other students. They went there because they loved the quality of the echo they'd get off the hard tile walls. These days, the band Hootie and the Blowfish does their singing on stage and in recording studios. Singing that's given them this week's biggest mover. Climbing 12 notches to number 26 on Casey's Top 40, here's Let Her Cry.
She sits alone by a lamppost, trying to find a thought that's escaped her mind.
Casey's Top 40.
From Hollywood, this is Casey Kasem. Now we're up to Hold My Hand. It's by a band that recently provided a lot of financial support to a children's home in their hometown after a fire seriously damaged it. And the members of the band did it by playing golf. That band is Hootie and the Blowfish, and they first met when they were students at the University of South Carolina in Columbia, South Carolina, and they still call that city their home base. Well, recently a tragedy hit Columbia when the Carolina Children's Home was severely damaged by a fire. It was a home for abused and abandoned children that did important and valuable work in the community. And if a lot of money wasn't raised quickly for repairs, the home would have to close. And that's where Hootie and the Blowfish came in. They felt very strongly about doing something to help. And what they did was to participate in a rock and roll golf tournament for charity. It's a tournament put on by VH1 called Fairway to Heaven. Various rock acts compete, and the winners get to designate a charity to receive their prize money. It turns out that the members of Hootie and the Blowfish love golf. They're quite good at it. And when the tournament was over, they had raised $10,000, which went directly to the Carolina Children's Home to give it a good start at rebuilding. This week, the band that does so well on the golf course continues to do well on our survey.
Casey's Top 40.
I'm Casey Kasem. Well, now we're up to Let Her Cry. It's by a band that's so crazy about golf, they insist on free admission to local golf courses in their concert contracts. At one time, rockers considered golf to be square. But all that has changed in the 90s. It seems that rockers of all types have been lured to the links, including members of bands like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Motley Crue, and Nirvana. But their love of golf is nothing compared to the passion the band Hootie and the Blowfish have for the game. It seems that Darius Rucker, Jim Sonfeld, Dean Felber, and Mark Bryan got hooked on golf when they were going to school together at the University of South Carolina. And now that they've become big stars, they've turned their time on the road into combination concert tours and golf course tours. You see, whenever they sign a contract for a show, they insist that along with everything else, the promoter has to guarantee them admission to a local golf course. And if there's a famous golf course nearby, like the Pebble Beach Golf Course near San Francisco, it's got to be that one. All that may seem a bit excessive to some promoters, but when they see the band's track record of selling out show after show, they quickly agree to the request. Now, here's a song that helped that golf-loving band score what you might call a hole-in-one. A song that reached number 1 back in June. This week on Casey's Top 40, it's survey song number 26. Let Her Cry.
Let her go. Let her walk right out on me. And if the sun comes up tomorrow, let her be. Oh, let her be.
Casey's Top 40.
Well, now we're up to the number 1 act of 1995, a band whose members say they might have starved in their early years were it not for a friend who worked at a local Chinese restaurant. When the members of this band from Columbia, South Carolina were first starting out, money was mighty scarce. They were playing clubs using borrowed instruments and often got paid in beer and peanuts rather than in cash. At their lowest point, they were sharing what they call a horrible $75 a month apartment, and they could barely afford that. But they were determined to make it. And even though times were tough, they say they never called their parents to ask for help. They got help, though, through a friend who worked at a takeout counter of a local Chinese restaurant. The place catered mostly to students of the University of South Carolina, and at the end of each night, there was usually food left over. So the band members worked out a deal with their friend. They showed up just before closing time, and their friend would sell them whatever leftover noodles he had. Rather than throwing the food out, he'd pack a whole bag full of noodles for them for just $3. And that was enough to feed all 4 hungry musicians. With that sort of commitment to making it, it's no surprise that the band became very successful, so successful that they became the #1 act of 1995. This week, they start off 1996 with the song that moves up 3 notches to number 13 on Casey's Top 40. Here's Time by Hootie and the Blowfish.
Casey's Top 40.
And holding steady at number 5 on Casey's Top 40, here's the band that recently won the American Music Award for Best New Pop Rock Artist. The group Garth Brooks said should have also won for Favorite Overall Artist. They're Hootie and the Blowfish, and this is one of the songs that helped them win their award, Time.
Counting them down with Casey Kasem.
Now we're up to Hootie and the Blowfish, a band that recently played for royalty in posh Monte Carlo. And they say the best part about it was they didn't even have to change out of their T-shirts. Dean Felber, Mark Bryan, Jim Sonfeld, and Darius Rucker were in Monte Carlo for the annual World Music Awards in May. It was a rare opportunity for the group to play their music on TV for an international audience, and it also gave them a rare chance to play in front of royalty. You see, the World Music Awards is hosted by Prince Rainier of Monaco, and it's a big high-fashion event. Many of the invited guests spend thousands of dollars on their clothes and hundreds of thousands on their jewelry. So Hootie and the Blowfish had a bit of a dilemma. They're not the type of band that likes to dress up. Their clothes on stage and off are very simple, basic T-shirt and jeans. And when they asked the organizers of the World Music Awards about a dress code, the organizers told the band they could wear whatever they wanted. Which is why Hootie and the Blowfish took to the glamorous stage in Monte Carlo wearing their trademark T-shirts, jeans, and baseball caps. And they had a great time. Not only did the audience love their performance, but the band also picked up 3 big World Music Awards: Best Rock Group, Best Selling Group, and Best Newcomer. Now here's the kind of music that won those awards for Hootie and the Blowfish, the song that rises 2 notches to number 14 this week on Casey's Top 40. This is Tuckerstown.
Casey's Top 40.
Hi, this is Casey Kasem. The super successful career of Hootie and the Blowfish just keeps on gathering steam. This week, their 6th top 40 hit, the song Tuckerstown, became their 6th top 10 in a row. Now, can the Grammy-winning band continue to move up the survey and score their 3rd #1? We'll find out as we count down all the biggest hits and check out the latest music news on Casey's Top 40 from Westwood One Entertainment.
Casey's Top 40.
Well, now we're up to Hootie and the Blowfish, a band that's been described as Southern pop, Middle American new wave, fish music, Hootie rock, and even Gump rock, as in Forrest Gump. And the members of the band say they can't stand any of those names. So to settle the issue with critics who want to boil the Hootie sound down to a catchphrase, they've come up with their own description. They call it golf rock. Why golf rock? Well, Hootie and the Blowfish are golf fanatics. Aside from playing golf to relax, they recently played in 2 charity golf tournaments. In August, they participated in a tournament for the V Foundation, a charity established by the family of legendary coach Jimmy Valvano. And more recently, they played a round in VH1's Fairway to Heaven tournament held in Las Vegas. The group also thinks their music is a lot like golf. It's a little different every time you play. And like golf, it may seem simple at first, but the more you know about it, the more complicated it becomes. This week, the latest hit for the golf rock band called Hootie and the Blowfish drives up 3 notches to number 26 on Casey's Top 40. Here's Sad Caper.
I know she said
biggest hits.
A year ago this week, one of the biggest hits in the USA was by a band whose lead singer has been praised for his powerful gospel-tinged voice, a voice built up in a decade of singing in choirs. The inspirational quality of Darius Rucker's voice isn't coincidental. Beginning when he was just 12 years old, Darius sang in his church choir and then in his high school choir. By the time he was in college, he was singing in the world-famous Carolina Alive Choir, a choir sponsored by the University of South Carolina. And with that much choir experience, it's no surprise that he brought a choir sound to his band, Hootie and the Blowfish. A year ago this week, Darius Rucker and Hootie had one of the biggest hits in the USA. Here's Old Man and Me.
Casey counts them down.
We're playing the biggest hits in the USA by the biggest stars in the world. And rising 3 notches to number 12 on American Top 40 is Hootie and the Blowfish with a song written by Darius about his best friend's parents. The father was a submarine captain who wasn't home very often, yet he and his wife managed to raise a close-knit family. Here's I Will Wait by Hootie and the Blowfish.
America's Top Hits.
3 years ago this week, one of the top hits in the USA was by a group who say success hasn't changed them one bit. They still wear khakis and sneakers offstage and on. The members of Hootie and the Blowfish say the toughest part of their success has been, well, dealing with their success. After selling 13 million copies of their debut album, Cracked Rear View, people keep expecting the members of Hootie to totally change the way they live. But they say that's not them. They wear the same casual pants and t-shirts now that they wore before they sold a single album. Several of them still live in the same houses, and they drive the same pickup trucks. They say that's just who they are. They wouldn't know how to change, and they don't intend to.
The hits from coast to coast.
And now we're up to Where Are They Now? Brought to you by the National Association of Realtors. Own a home, build long-term wealth. This week, Darius Rucker of Hootie and the Blowfish, a singer who's traded pop stardom for a Stetson. The last studio CD released by Hootie and the Blowfish was Looking for Lucky back in 2005. The band plans to release another album, but first, lead singer Darius Rucker has to go through his country period. Darius says, quote, I've always loved country, but it wasn't until I did the burger commercial that I let people know just how much I loved it. It was a commercial for Burger King. Darius played a cowboy who sings a version of Big Rock Candy Mountain to promote a big sandwich. Since then, he's gone on to appear at the Academy of Country Music Awards, and these days, he's putting the finishing touches on a solo country album for Capitol Records Nashville, an album due out by the summer. Now, with an extra from 1997, here's Hootie and I Go Blind. From 1997, Hootie and the Blowfish with an AT20 Extra, I Go Blind. I'm Casey Kasem. Now, on with the countdown.
America's